What are you doing? Stop it!
Look at them, Hagen. Look at what you used to be.
No. No. Turn them off.
You can play those roles again, Hagen. Let me help you find a cure.
No! Hagen's gone! Make him stop haunting me! Stop it! Stop it! Turn them off! I can't control it! I can't be all of them! Not all at once!
I can't be all of them. This one line alone can depict the entire character of Clayface. And considering the new Clayface movie is coming out in October of this year, I decided to take it upon myself to make a kind of a history lesson, you know, about who the character Clayface is themselves, because most people don't really know Clayface because he hasn't really been in any movies or in really any TV shows since the Batman animated TV show in the early 90s. So this new generation of people haven't really experienced Clayface except for like the Lego games. I mean, I loved the Lego games. I grew up on like Lego Batman, but like, who the fuck is Clayface? So I've taken it upon myself to research and find out who Clayface is, like, as deeper as a character, because I played the Arkham games, like, when I was a kid and growing up, and I remember on my Xbox 360 playing Batman Arkham City and not really knowing who Clayface was as a character, because it's never been shown up in culture or anything, and then he was the final boss fight. And I thought it was really interesting how his power works, and I always wanted to know who he was. I just never got around to finding out who he was as a character. Like, what even is his name? Most people don't even know who Clayface's name is. And which I soon discovered he has many names. Like, a lot of fucking names. There's like 8 different Clayfaces. Why does there have to be that many? I don't know. Maybe because writers want to make a new story with a character that already died or is in jail permanently and they don't want to change the past, but I don't know. But today we'll only be doing like the main 3, you know? It would honestly take way too long for me to like do all 12 different Clayfaces. Shit, it would be like an hour and a half long video if I did all of them. So if you want more, just say. So what I'm doing here, it's nothing like anything new. It's just something I feel like it'd be easier if it was put into all one video, because every video I've seen, because the new Clayface movie is coming out in October, every video I've seen is 5 years old, outdated, or they only cover like 2 Clayfaces, nothing crazy. And I think it's really important for everyone to know like every side and every individual like Clayface, so we can get the full depth of the character going into the new movie, because it looks really good. But I'm going to stop yapping, and I'm going to get into the meat potatoes of this video, you know? So there's 3 Clayfaces we're going over today, and those are Basil Karlo, Mark Hagen, and Preston Payne. But I would do more. I just don't have the attention span for that, and I know y'all don't either. Basil Karlo is kind of just, like, not Clayface at all in the beginning. He was the first ever Clayface to ever like go on pictures. It was in Detective Comics 40, I think, in 1940, like very soon after Batman first came out. Like, to prove my point, he didn't even have powers. He had no powers. He was just an actor, like a washed up actor practically, and he would just use like realistic masked, like he would like wear masks of the monsters that he played in like his films that were being remade at the time. Like, they were remaking his films and he was mad he wasn't like invited to it, I guess, like as an actor. So he'd wear a mask from those movies, and then he would kill like people in the shots. They would die as the monster, and they'd actually kill them. He'd like turn off the lights, and then he would kill them on set. And to begin with, Batman would already be interested in this because people are, you know, dying on set. But in fact, during this time, Batman had a girlfriend, and she was an actor on the set. And the next scene being shot was her death. And the last 2 times people's death scenes were shot, they had been killed by Basil Karlo in the mask, them not knowing that it's him, you know, obviously. While Batman and Robin are investigating, they go to an apartment building of one of the lead actresses' like boyfriends, and they find him hanging up in his own closet, practically like borderline dead, right? And they ask, who did this to you? And he mummers like, Clayface or whatever. And that's how Clayface got his name, which is kind of underwhelming for the character. But I guess that's just how comics were in the 40s, you know? So after like a brief encounter fighting Clayface that is honestly very not important and doesn't add to the plot at all, it was just to fill up pages, they plan to just wait until the next death scene in the movie and just kind of catch him off guard when he was trying to do the act. And, you know, standard, like, superhero 40s, like, plot, they obviously defeat him because it's a guy with a knife, you know? And they take off his mask, and it's Basil Karlo. Would you look at that? The guy that was really mad someone took his role prior to the shooting of the movie. Batman, like, has this epiphany, kind of, like, it's like his thought process saying how Basil Karlo has played so many monstrous, like, villain roles that he thinks like he should be the monster and that he is the monster and has twisted his mind to like be that type of monster. So he couldn't see someone else playing the roles he could because he was always those roles. And that kind of turned him into those roles, as that's kind of the mindset that Batman told in the original book. Basil would later like resurface sometimes and just be a nuisance to Batman. He eventually does gain the Clayface powers, but not because of anything like special. It's because like the other like influences from the next Clayfaces that we're about to talk about. But honestly, I think Basil Karlo, besides having a shitty name, is like a really cool character like mentally. And over time, they would mix the personality of like this Clayface, Basil Karlo, with other Clayfaces, like in the 1992 Batman the Animated Series. That clip that I showed you at the very beginning of this video was like that was Matt Hagen in the video, but he had like the backstory and the personality of Basil Karlo, even though that wasn't him as a character in the original books. That's just how they made like him more interesting in the show. And speaking of Matt Hagen, the second Clayface, and personally, for most people, the best Clayface, because he's been used the most. Matt Hagen was first introduced as a character in Detective Comics, I think it was 298 in like 1961. Batman and Robin are like funding this charity event. I don't remember it specifying what charity event it was specifically, but there's a creature, there's a thing watching from the woods, a little goop dude, little goop guy, and he just jumps Batman. He just jumps Batman, and he ends up stealing all of the charity money, and Batman just kind of lets it happen because, you know, gotta have a plot somehow. And what's different about this Clayface is that he could shift perfectly into different animals and such, and while fighting Batman, he would shift into like hawks and like lions and stuff, and he'd fight Batman like that instead of how every other Clayface does it, which is weird. But as far as I know, that hasn't really happened that much often besides this and maybe a couple other issues like down the line. But Clayface would end up stealing the money, and then he would it cuts to like a backstory about how he was a treasure hunter, even though, you know, treasure hunting kind of went out of style 300 years prior to this comic book. But he was a treasure hunter, and he was scuba diving. He was looking for treasure, and he had stumbled across this like underwater grotto type of like thing, like a ruin kind of. And this ruin like had this like this weird goop, dude, this like goopy substance, and he had touched it, and it had turned him into what we now know is like the modern Clayface. And he ends up trying to shoot himself because, you know, sad, now you're a gold goop monster. And he tries shooting himself, and the bullet just kind of goes through him, which, damn, dude, you can't die. And he eventually learns how to shapeshift and turn into things. He decides to use his power. Instead of being a good person or, like, being a superhero, he decides to give in to, like, humans' innate, like, ideals to, you know, stealing money, getting rich, committing crime, as one does in Gotham, because, I guess. But this isn't the only Matt Hagen origin story. There's been multiple rewrites, so many retcons, it's crazy. But the one I'm going to be focusing on is the Batman the Animated Series, because that one is the one people remember most. So, in the Batman the Animated Series, Matt Hagen He isn't a treasure hunter, because that's fucking stupid. He's an actor, and that's how it looks like it's going to be in the new movie. And so they kind of mix Basil Karlo's, like, they mixed his, like, profession and his identity with Mark Hagen. So what they did in the show is that he's a struggling actor, and he's doing great. And he looks really good. People, like, cast him because how good he looks, his face, so on and so forth. Pretty boy type shit. And after one of his shoots, he gets to a really bad car accident that, like, permanently mangles his face. He looks like if Two-Face had both sides of his face just look like a steaming pile of shit, And it's disgusting. It's gross. And he looks nasty. No one wants to hire him anymore. So he undergoes this like surgery thing, like kind of like how celebrities do Botox, not the same type of thing, but it was a plastic surgery. And in this surgery, the only way for them to fix his face was injecting him with this like weird drug, this weird ass heroin needle looking drug called Renew You. And when they did it, he happened to have overdosed on it, and that turned him into a little goo creature. And this little goo creature, he's a little gooey guy. And that was his origin story in at least the Batman the Animated Series, and has been adapted to some runs. So this next Clayface is Preston Payne. Really cool ass name. Let me get that out of the way. Name, cool as fuck. But Preston Payne, he's a scientist, but he was like terribly deformed as a child. It was this rare 1% like disease, like deformity that he had. And how the fuck do you pronounce this?
Hypopituitarism.
Yeah, whatever she said. Born with
Hypopituitarism.
Preston Payne in the early years would be constantly like bullied and ridiculed for, his disgusting deformity, I may add. I'm sorry. It's truly tragic to look at. I'm sorry for anyone that has that. But he had also been gifted with a fantastic mind, smarter than you or me, because I'm a fucking dumbass. But he grew up wanting to be praised and respected for his accomplishments and achievements rather than feared for how he looks. He would begin working at Star Labs. Yeah, that Star Labs, where he would go years being unsuccessful, talking to as many doctors and as many like professionals in this field as possible, with no sign or even getting close to finding a cure for his condition. But when researching, he had discovered the Clayface, the second Clayface, Matt Hagen, that could turn himself into anything. And so he went to go visit him in prison. Hagen said that he couldn't really do anything for Preston, but in that situation, Preston saw an opportunity and he took some blood from Hagen. He would proceed to go do a bunch of experiments, and he would work on the formula that he had been originally working on, but by adding Hagen's blood into it as well. And this caused him to invent this serum. And he decided to inject this serum directly into him. No prior testing, by the way. Let me inject this liquid with someone else's blood, I mind you. Best way to get AIDS I've ever heard of. Let me just inject that into me. And briefly, for a little while, it worked. He could change his appearance. He could do anything he wanted to, and he looked great. So he decided to go on dates, and he went on a couple of dates. But during one of these dates, we were walking out of a movie, and she turned back to look at him, and his face was slowly melting away. He was losing control of his, clay faceness, his shape-shifting, I guess. And she got really scared. She was terrified, ran away. But when he reached out to grab her, when he grabbed her, she melted. She turned into a big, steaming pile of goo. So, right then and there, he decided that he needs to go to his lab, and he made himself a suit, like a little armor, kinda, to encase all of his gooiness into a little thing, so he couldn't touch anyone, because he didn't want to kill anyone. He didn't want to harm anyone in any way. But after a while, he noticed that if he didn't disintegrate, goopify someone within a certain amount of time, he would start feeling ill and he'll start hurting. So to relieve his fever, he would go out and pick out the evilest the worst people, like criminals and like lesser than like people, like street rats, people that no one would miss according to him. And he would use them to like fuel his hunger, kinda. He would live in isolation for many years, and he would grow a fond relationship with a mannequin named Helena. It's a mannequin, a little piece of plastic, but he really enjoyed that mannequin because he could touch her without turning goopish. But all that came to an end when Batman, the Bruce Wayne himself, had picked up on the murders happening in Gotham, of people being turned into like slushy, like icy, like ices from like 7-Eleven. And he found out where Preston Payne was, and he burned down his lab, attempting to destroy any type of like evidence or things he used to do such actions. And in the blaze, in the fire, in the terrible, terrible thing that Batman just did, Helena had turned into a pile of plastic, a little goopy thing of plastic, like how Preston Payne had seen all of his other lovers that he had when he originally turned into the Clayface. He would proceed to embrace his life as to being the villain due to this terrible, terrible tragedy, and he would take out his anger on Batman. And over a couple months, years of doing that, he eventually discovers Helena alive and well as a mannequin sitting in a mall. He was shocked. He was flabbergasted, and he tried striking up a relationship back with her, and he succeeded. But one day, when strolling a mall, he had saw Helena on the 3rd floor, a different floor that she normally worked on, in lingerie while other men looked at her. He was furious, I tell you. He was pissed, and he proceeded to kill, well, my fault, unalive, YouTube and shit. He would kill any man that proceeded to look her way or do advances onto her to just make him be her only lover. And once he had regained her love and they were on a date one night, he had noticed Helena was looking at something in the distance. He turns around. It's the bat signal. And he thought he was crazy until one night when in the mall, he saw Batman pull up in the mall. And right then and there, he knew that Helena was cheating on him with the Batman. He proceeded to take action in the only way he knew. And he got his shit rocked. If you made it this far, that being, the end of the video, it'd be really nice if you liked and subscribed, because I don't want to do this shit, because, art is like, what's the point of art if it's not viewed? You know my mindset here. Although the process of making it's pretty cool itself also. I'm tired of editing this shit. It's 3 a.m. I got work tomorrow. This was something really cool that I thought of, and it'd be really cool if I turned this into a video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully next time y'all could see what I could do better, because this editing was shitty.